about another 1 minute or two? Hi, Anita. Can you hear me? You're muted yet. All right, we're gonna start in just a moment. All right, Don, I assume you'll give me the thumbs up to start. All right. So welcome, everyone. Welcome to our 4th edition of Music Matters. I am Don Gurney in the comfort of my home, reaching out to all of you who are interested in music matters in general and specifically Jewish music matters. And we've developed a custom now, certainly during these times, to begin this half an hour of dialogue and music with a prayer for healing. And on a personal note, I will tell you that just yesterday I was on the phone with 2 of my colleagues, both of them who happen to have been my teachers, who are, thank goodness, okay now, but they both were stricken with the coronavirus. One of them was hospitalized for about a week. Both of them are okay now. But it just was a very kind of stunning reminder of how all of it is now hitting really close to home, I'm sure, for all of us. I imagine by now we all know people in our lives, friends, relatives, or friends of relatives. The web is getting closer and closer, and it's more and more personal and real. So I have them in mind today, and I'm sure all of you do as well. So in a moment, we'll put this video up on the screen with the recording of the Misha Berach, and take some moments now to think of those people who you know and many who you do not know, and just hold them in your hearts as we now listen to Misha Berach, the prayer for healing. Hi, Don. I'm just reaching out to you because in this moment, I can't hear anything on my computer. Maybe there's a problem.
Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. אחינותינו, וכל הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
So I'm not sure if everyone got to hear it from the beginning, but that's okay. We all know it. And I hope that was a hopeful moment for everyone. Also, Donna as well, I can't see myself on the screen, just in the gallery, if that makes a difference. I'm not sure why that is. But in any case, again, welcome back to Music Matters. Today we're going to focus on Torah cantillation, the chanting of the Torah. For anyone out there who has ever wondered about it or wanted to learn how to chant from the Torah and why it is we do it and anything else about it, we'll get into a brief discussion about that today. So I want to welcome those who are in our gallery this afternoon. Randy is with us, and Anita, and Ellen, and AJD. I don't know if we can get their pictures up on the gallery or not, so I can see them. But let me first, there you are. Welcome. And let me start with Randy. We'll unmute you. Tell me, have you ever wondered about learning to chant from the Torah? Or maybe you already do now.
I do. I had my bat mitzvah about 7 years ago at Wilshire Temple. After all those years, you were the one that
did.
You were the one that did it, and I find it fascinating and wonderful. I'll just do a little history, and then I'm done. My grandmother belonged to the Hobart, or the old one down on 8th Street Temple. Wilshire Temple.
My, yeah.
And Ve'ahavta is her favorite, was her favorite before she died at 96. So I am 4th generation of the temple, and the Ve'ahavta is, of course, my favorite because it was hers. So I'm very excited about your class today, and I just wish everybody well. My mother was tested on Saturday, my own mother, Marilyn Blank, and we're waiting for her results today. She had fevers for 2 weeks, and she is in assisted living. So I'm here. Thank you.
Okay. Randy, first of all, yeah, stay on the line with me, please. Thank you for sharing, and I'm so happy that you're on today, and thank you for sharing the beautiful personal nature of this for you and your family. And let me ask you, how's the family? I want to know how everybody is.
Everybody is great. The 3 kids lost their jobs. Very good jobs.
Yeah.
My husband is good. He still has his business. He goes to work every day. He's in a service business. I am absolutely fine. Yeah. And we are getting along just very good. We have Shabbat at home with other families on Friday night. Exactly. And that's what you do. And you don't compare it to the Holocaust. We're all alive and well.
Yes, we are.
We are just healthy. And of course, Wilshire's helping us through this. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
You're welcome, Randy. Thank you so much. That's very, very meaningful to all of us. And, you know, I think you're a perfect model of how we deal with these crises, you know, whatever it is. And this is very impactful on all of our lives. And I think we're now starting to see the trickle down effect. You know, you mentioned, you know, your boys lost their jobs and they're not alone. A lot of young people, a lot of people of all ages are losing their work now. And it's a very challenging time and depressing. I know I feel it myself. And the fact that we have this genre, this way to connect with one another, I mean, we have to be so grateful. I can't even imagine what it would be like pre-internet. We'd be so alone and so isolated. Granted, we miss the physical presence, but we have this at least, you know, and It's a way to reach out to one another. So thank you, Randy. It's great to see you and great to know that your family's okay. And we send our prayers and blessings to your mom.
Thanks.
All right. So Anita, you can unmute yourself and share something. So
Hi.
tell us about your relationship with Torah chanting, if you have one.
I've never done it. I actually converted just almost 2 years ago. So brand new, and I'm a member of Wilshire Temple, and it's wonderful, and I'm so grateful.
It's great to have you on. So this could be the impetus you needed to study and learn how to do that, right?
Yep.
And I'm sure at some point, maybe either online or when we're back to some kind of sense of normalcy, we'll start some classes where people who always wanted to, or maybe just recently have thought about it, want to learn how to chant from the Torah. It's a beautiful experience, as Randy and others can attest to. And let me just take a moment to just give a little background, right? Not too academic, just a little bit. Chanting from the Torah and other sacred texts is really, I would say, our second oldest musical ritual in the history of Judaism. The first, the oldest, is the chanting of Psalms, also part of the Hebrew Bible, but not the Torah. The chanting of Tehillim, or Psalms, began in the ancient temple in Jerusalem. So we're probably talking as far back as 8th or 9th century BCE, right? And then as the Torah is compiled and edited and finally becomes the Torah scroll, that too had to be chanted, because in Jewish music history and worship history, everything has to be sung. It's the highest form of communication to God. So if the Psalms were chanted, if prayers were chanted, sung, of course the Torah had to be sung as well. So there's an ancient tradition as well regarding the chanting of Torah. And the manner in which we chant Torah is deeply diverse, depending on what community you're a part of. As the Torah departs from Israel with Jews as they move throughout the world, it acquired different traditions, different melodic traditions. In the Ashkenazic world, it has one specific tradition. In the Sephardic world, it's completely different tradition. But over time, it becomes pretty much what we know it to be today. And that tradition of chanting the Torah, the sound of it, the actual melodic sound, is really fine-tuned from about the 15th to the 19th centuries in Germany. It becomes very exacting and specific and detailed. And this tradition of chanting the Torah begins with a system of little markings, little symbols that the ancient editors began to put into the sacred texts that would tell us how to pronounce every word correctly with the right accent. So first and foremost, they were accent markings and grammar markings, where to pause, where to end a phrase. And over time, they became more and more specific over and above every single word of the entire Torah. So they are both accent markings and grammar markings, and also ultimately musical notation. Each trope or cantillation marking has a name and a specific melody attached to it. And when we see it on the text, we learn those trope signs and their melodies, and we sing the text according to each one of those trope signs. So it is very specific. And Don, I'm going to ask you to put up the V'ahavta text for us to take a look at now. It's a text, as Randy mentioned, that's beloved to so many of us. It became part of every worship experience. The V'ahavta really is part of the Shema itself. The Shema in our worship service has a prelude of prayers that introduce it, and then prayers that follow it. And the center of that text is, in fact, the V'ahavta text. And you'll notice that it has trope signs because the V'ahavta, the Shema, is a text taken from the Torah, from Parashat V'et Hanan. And let's just take a look at the first word, ve'ahavta. So why do we sing it the way we do? If you look at that first word, and in between the second and third letters in the Hebrew, you see this little backwards L symbol, right? Backwards L symbol. So that is neither a letter nor a vowel. It's one of the trope signs we mentioned. And that little trope sign is called munach. And at the end of the word, above the last letter, the tav, there are two dots. That little symbol is called katon. And the melodies for munach katon are sung, pretty much the same way. The way we sing the Ahavta at Wilshire Boulevard Temple, we sing the munach katon like this. Munach, munach katon, right? So when we start ve'avata, right? So this is how trope works. Every little symbol has a name and a melody attached to it. And we learn those symbols. We practice them. When we see them in the text, that's how we learn Torah texts. Right? So there are actually 6 different systems of trope, one for the reading of Torah on Shabbat and weekdays, a different sound of chanting Torah on the high holidays. As we know, everything in the high holidays is unique. We have a system of chanting biblical text for the book of Esther, Megillah Esther, for Lamentations, for Song of Songs. Each one of these 6 biblical texts have their own sound to them. Right? So when we chant Ve'ahavta together, we're actually chanting a Torah text, and we all know it by these ancient Torah melodies, right? And it's fascinating because you think about it, this takes us back to, 1,000 years ago. And still today, every synagogue in the Ashkenazic world, we can all participate in this centerpiece text of our worship experience. There you go. Thank you, Randy. Right?
Right.
Yeah. B'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. That's the specific cantillation for Torah when we chant on Shabbat or weekdays, Monday and Thursday. Now, I'll just give you a quick example of how the Ve'ahavta would sound if we chanted it according to the high holiday Torah trope melody. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. Very different sound. That's the way it sounds on the high holidays, right? What if we chanted this text too in Haftarah trope, right? I know many of us are familiar with the Haftarah trope. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, the blessing before the Haftarah. So what if the Ahavta were sung in that trope? Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. All the same trope signs, but different melodies for different texts, right? It's a fascinating tradition. And we know that this is our ancient oral tradition. No recordings, no musical notation, passed down from generation to generation over the centuries. We had one of our viewers last week ask the question, in fact, I believe it was Jody Berman, right? Who asked, how do our melodies travel through time? How do they become part of our tradition, right? And for most of our history, it's done orally. And we hold on to them and we have them still to this very day. So let me go back to our gallery for a moment, and anyone who has a question or a comment, happy to do my best to answer them. So Rick, welcome. We can unmute Rick so he can ask a question. Maybe I can do that. Hi, Rick, you're on. Do you have a question for us? Maybe not. There we go. Who has a question for us?
You want to go?
There you go. Now we can see everyone.
Mhm.
Does anyone have a question or a comment about chanting of the Torah in our biblical texts?
Hi, Dawn. It's Esther.
Hi, Esther. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I actually just have a comment.
Yeah.
First of all, it's really nice to see everyone. I'm sorry you can't see me. I'm doing this from my phone today, but
Okay.
so excited to be part of this. I grew up in Chabad, actually, and which was not our level of observance.
Right.
But my father, who is Yemenite, when he would daven, everybody would stop and listen because it was so unique and distinctive. And so I have always had kind of a fascination with listening to the chanting,
Right.
and just really like the woman who spoke before, Randy, I love this particular piece very much and feel a connection to it, and I'm excited to be learning with everyone today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And you know what? Look, you bring up this interesting, the divergence of our traditions, because the Yemenite musical tradition is unto itself, right? It is not Ashkenazi, nor is it necessarily Sephardic, right? It is Yemenite.
Mm-hmm.
It's its own musical tradition. And when you hear it, you're in a different world, right?
Exactly.
Right. And it's fascinating. It makes, the whole conglomerate of our ancient Jewish musical tradition so rich and so interesting to hear, the great differences within our own, civilization, right? And it's very haunting, right? So thank you for being part of this.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi,
Dawn.
how are you?
Good. I'm
Welcome.
Rosaline, and this is my son, Amiel.
Amiel?
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. We're relatively new to Los Angeles. Amiel was born in New York.
Uh-huh.
I am very fortunate to have come from a very traditional family we grew up with. Totally different melody of music in our ears from Shiraz, Persia.
Uh-huh.
I have had my bat mitzvah years ago, and now we are very fortunate to be a part of the community here. And my son, Amiel, is preparing for his bar mitzvah with Bob. And I'm looking forward to meeting with you in person.
Absolutely.
Amiel is extremely musical, and we hope that he can be a part of the tefillot of the temple in the future.
Well, he certainly will be. Amiel, when is your bar mitzvah scheduled for at this point?
November 19th.
Okay, so we're going to say special prayers for you that your bar mitzvah can take place as scheduled in person. We hope and pray for that, right? So I imagine you're just getting started with your studies.
Yeah.
All right. Have you started your learning of your first Torah portion yet?
Not yet, no.
But the Via Hafta for sure.
Yeah.
The
Exactly.
Haftarah.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. So happy to have you guys on.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to meeting with you.
Oh, absolutely. So stay on with us. Stay on with us. And we have some more on our gallery. Rick Sanchez, are you there for us? Do you have a question or a comment, Rick?
Yes, I do actually.
All right, now we can see you.
Sorry, I didn't notice I was. You guys couldn't see me. How do you go about learning how to sing As far as,
The chanting of the Torah?
yes,
In a way, it's a very simple formula. It does require, it requires one thing first, okay? You don't have to have a great voice at all, as long as you can, just intone words. But the one thing that is required, at least to a certain level, is being able to read basic Hebrew.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to apply the trope signs to the text, it's the text that has to, be sung.
correct.
Right. So now I'm not saying that you have to be fluent in Hebrew, because that's absolutely not true. If you can decode Hebrew and learn how to make the sounds of Hebrew, truth be told, we've had, B'nai Mitzvah over the years in every synagogue on planet Earth where some of the kids were not able to read as well as others, or you have learning issues, making the learning of Hebrew really pretty impossible, right? So we learn how to make the sounds of Hebrew and then attach the melodies to them.
Got
So in most cases, you can either learn from a recording, right? Or to learn the actual trope, to learn the names of the trope signs, to identify them, and then apply them to a text. One pattern at a time, right? And there are about 42 different possible patterns in Torah reading, but there's really only about 15 that you need to learn, because they come in groups. So for instance, if you learned, let's say, one pattern, that would mean that you actually know 4 patterns, because the next 3 following that one pattern would be merely subsets of the first one.
Okay.
So it sounds complicated just to talk about it, but to actually learn it, I find is not difficult. And in fact, I think it makes the learning of chanting Torah both more meaningful and an interesting experience, and deepens the experience of it when you actually learn it and do it that way. Yeah, so that's the way it's been taught and handed down, for more than 1,000 years.
Yeah.
It's an oral tradition, right? And one person teaching another. So it's a wonderful bonding experience as well between teacher and student, whatever their ages. Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Esther Cohen.
Hi again.
Hi again. Okay. Oh, okay. Excellent. So when we encounter these texts in our prayer service, right? Because all of our prayers through all time really find their origins in the Hebrew Bible. Right? Everything starts there. Many of our prayers are from the Psalms, or based on passages from the Torah, based on passages from the writings of the prophets. Right? And all of those biblical texts to this day, are chanted according to trope or cantillation. Right? So it is, along with the singing of Psalms, our oldest musical tradition. And in that way, it binds us to the whole history of Jewish song and Jewish text, right? And we know the power of song. That's one of the central themes of this whole Music Matters engagement that we've been creating. And that is that music has this unique ability and power to occupy a place deep in our memory and in our mind and in our emotions. And when we chant these ancient songs together, it binds us together as a community to share song and text. It puts us in a certain place and time. Certain memories come to mind when we sing them. We began today with Randy's comment, which was so perfectly appropriate and beautiful to today's session, how it was your mom's favorite prayer. And it's a Torah text, and it's sung in a certain way. All those things and the memories attach themselves to it. And And that's just one instance, right? So it has this beautiful, beautiful power to bring us together as a community, one by one. So there's great beauty and richness in our tradition this way. Diane Ring, are you with us, Diane? Let's see if we can see Diane.
My chemo.
There you go. We can hear you now.
Oh, good. Do you want to see me? How do I get that on?
Let's see. Maybe Don can help us, but we can certainly hear you. So if you have a question.
Oh, I'm at Cedars. I'm getting my chemotherapy treatment. It's very stressful. But
Oh my goodness, Diane, God bless you, honey. I can't believe you're on with us. This is so amazing.
Well, it's really important. I stay with you. I listen to you all the time, and to be there, it's uplifting prayer and connection. It's so important because this has been a very difficult.
Diane, we're all right there with you. We're all praying for you, sweetie.
Thank you, Cantor. Thank you, Cantor. God bless.
Welcome. You're welcome, honey. Before we leave this session today, we're gonna sing a prayer especially for you.
Oh, I would so appreciate it.
Yeah, it's hard, huh?
This particular they say it's the strongest treatment available.
Okay. Well, we hope and pray for you that it does what it can and should do for you. Our hearts are with you, you and your family. Will you be able to go home later today?
Yes.
Okay. And who's at home with you?
I'm now living in an assisted facility,
Okay.
which is a bit of a challenge. I really don't have family. I have friends. All my family died.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you have a bigger family now.
Thank you. I've been with you over 5 years. So.
Yeah. Oh my, honey.
God bless. Thank you.
God bless you, sweetheart. We're going to think of you, and we're going to stay in touch with you.
Oh, please. I really need that.
We will. Now that we know and we can see you, you're going to have more FaceTime and Zoom time than you've had hoped for. I promise.
Yay. I need that.
Okay.
All right.
We're all going to be here for you.
Thank you.
I hope you get strength from that and some hope and joy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
God is good.
Oh my.
Thank
All right, sweetie. We're right there with you.
Thank you.
Okay. I think in this moment, I don't have anything really to say to follow, but we love you, and we're praying for you and for all those who joined us today. This was unexpected and getting a little choked up myself.
Well, you've been there. You know what it's like.
You never know. You never know how you can help someone. So.
Oh. And as soon as I'm back on my feet, I love to
You
volunteer.
You will be. We'll be waiting for you. I promise. We'll be waiting for you.
I'll be there. God bless.
All right. You too, honey. Let me just say now, Don, we're going to close in a moment with this recording of this piece of music called Ruach Elohim. We offered it last week as well. It's a beautiful setting by a colleague of mine. May the Spirit of God watch over you and keep you safe. The love of friends, the love of family, And it closes with the blessing of the priests. May God bless you and keep you safe. So we'll close our Music Matters session today with that. Ruach Elohim. Stay healthy, stay strong, keep hope in your hearts. And I'll see you all next Monday for our next session of Music Matters. God bless everyone.
Thank you. Mm.
May the love of God be your shelter from May God bless you and keep you, bring you to the light and safe from harm. May the love of friends be your shelter from every storm. God's Spirit bring you to the light and loving arms. Together we will be a shelter from every storm. Together we will be a shelter from every storm. Same